So one of my key insights I think from this week is just how different I think of fluency now, in all honesty. Um, the fact that it really is just so many working parts that come together. Like when I think of fluency, at least originally, I thought it was how smoothly a student read, like a certain section in a book. I didn't think of it as like all these different like working mechanisms coming together. It reminded me of the science of reading that way. So many different strains held together for one big rope, right? Um, but when we think about when I read those articles and I thought about like it's both the automatic like kind of like click that happens while also being, I'm going to say this wrong, the parazzi of the different comprehension skills there as well. And it makes so much sense because comprehension is such an important part of reading. When you think of fluency, when you're reading those words aloud, there's a reason why you're reading those out aloud in the first place. It's to understand something, right? You're reading the text for a reason, and it's for a purpose, and it's for that comprehension. So the way that that's just all tied together, it was so new for me that I really enjoyed seeing. And also just when we think of how we implement literacy in the classroom, implement fluency in the classroom. I remember when we were doing, for the one assignment, I picked context clues from the word sheet, and it reminded me of kind of going back in time a little bit. Um, and like for me, like when I think of context clues, I think, oh, it's so obvious, what a context clue is. But really, just to break it down for a student, it felt like I had to like retrain myself almost to do that, to come up with an example. And I actually really enjoyed that because it was a little bit of a challenge in that way to kind of go back like that. But it was a needed challenge, right? And just the fact that there's once again, so many working parts, whether it's context clues or the word recognition or word maps or word organizers. There's so many different ways that we can help with that fluency, both the comprehension and the automatic retention, right? Um, and then looking at the iris modules, when we talk about the different skills of repetition, right? That was another thing that I really enjoyed reading the articles too, was how many different ways we can think about repetition, because I said in one of my assignments that, practice makes perfect, which I absolutely believe. But how can we practice, right? We don't need to have the students practice the same thing every day. We can have them do the same words, but in different contexts, which can help with context clues, and also just with the repetition in general. And to think that um, that actually kind of research where we do the repetition but in different forms actually yields better results, I thought was so fascinating, and since that's going to stick with me for a while, to know that yes, practice always makes perfect, but we can still try and stagger that practice to not get students bored first off by doing the same thing, but also to help them differentiate it in any way they can, because no students learn the same. So yes, those are a few of my takeaways from this week. Just how fluency is, that kind of definition is kind of reshaped in my brain, and how in my implementation of that fluency, of teaching that fluency, is going to be reshaped now too. So yeah, thank you guys.